What if I told you Vikings already knew the secret of tech innovation? Did you know that while Europe was stuck in the Dark Ages, Vikings were sailing across oceans using technologies that wouldn't be discovered for centuries? They had solar crystals for navigation, built flexible ships that bent with waves instead of breaking, and developed a communication system through runes that worked like primitive binary code. But here's what really matters: the mindset behind these innovations. Vikings didn't see technology as something separate from life, they integrated it as an extension of their warrior philosophy. And that's exactly the mindset you need to master technology today. The Viking concept of RTT, meaning both physical and mental skill, teaches us that high-performance technology mastery doesn't come just from technical knowledge, but from the fusion of courage, adaptability, and strategic thinking. They didn't wait for someone to teach them. They experimented, failed, learned, and evolved. Think about it. How many times do you avoid learning a new digital tool because it seems complicated? Vikings faced unknown oceans without GPS, without detailed maps, only with their courage and a philosophy that turned fear into fuel for discovery. The Viking discipline called Drengskap, meaning honorable and courageous behavior, is what separates those who master technology from those who are mastered by it. They didn't see obstacles as barriers, but as opportunities to prove their worth. This mindset is what most people lack when facing artificial intelligence, automation, or any new disruptive technology. Archaeology reveals that Vikings had a specific word, seer, a form of knowledge that combined intuition, technique, and adaptability. It was the ability to read complex situations and respond innovatively. Today, we call this computational thinking or design thinking, but the principle remains the same. When Erik the Red was banished from Iceland, he didn't surrender. He used this failure as an opportunity to discover Greenland. This mindset of turning setbacks into setups is exactly what you need to not just survive, but thrive in the digital transformation era. The warrior ethos of VTI Vega, knowing the path through wisdom, meant that true strength came from understanding the why behind the how. Vikings didn't just swing axes. They studied their enemies, understood terrain, and adapted their strategies in real time. This is the exact approach you need for mastering emerging technologies. Comment, RT, if you're ready to adopt the Viking mindset of technological high performance and transform digital obstacles into growth opportunities. Why Viking warfare methods are the perfect blueprint for winning in the digital age. Here's something that will shock you. Vikings developed what we now know as agile methodology 1,000 years before Silicon Valley existed. Viking warfare strategy was based on small, autonomous groups, rapid decisions, constant adaptation, and immediate feedback from the battlefield. The concept of flag, meaning partnership or fellowship, was revolutionary. Vikings organized their expeditions as collaborative projects where each member had autonomy to make critical decisions without waiting for orders from the top. This is exactly what today's most innovative tech companies do. Small teams, decentralized decisions, rapid iteration. But what's most fascinating is how they dealt with uncertainty. Vikings had a philosophy called word, the concept that destiny is something you build through your actions, not something that simply happens to you. They knew they couldn't control storms, but they could control how they responded to them. In technology, this mindset is pure gold. How many people get paralyzed because they don't know which programming language to learn, which platform to use, or how artificial intelligence will affect their jobs? Vikings teach us that the only answer to uncertainty is intelligent and adaptive action. The most studied Viking war tactic is Svinfylking, wedge formation that concentrated maximum force at the point of impact, but maintained flexibility to adapt quickly. This is the mindset you need to master technology: intense focus on a specific point, but always ready to pivot when necessary. Ragnar Lothbrok didn't conquer half of Europe because he had the best warriors. He conquered because he had the best continuous learning strategy. Every battle was a laboratory, every failure a data source for the next iteration. He applied what we now call fail fast, learn faster. Vikings also had mental preparation rituals before battles. They visualized victory, but also mentally prepared for all possible scenarios. Today, this is called scenario planning and risk management, but the principle remains. High performance comes from mental preparation as much as technique. The concept of Hamingja, personal luck that you build through consistent actions, is perhaps the most powerful lesson. Vikings didn't believe in luck as chance, but as the result of discipline, preparation, and courage. Your technological luck isn't accidental, it's constructed. What separates Viking warriors from berserkers is strategic thinking. Berserkers relied on rage and brute force. Vikings used controlled aggression combined with tactical intelligence. In tech mastery, this translates to balancing intensive practice with strategic learning paths. Comment, Svinfylking, if you're ready to apply Viking warfare strategies to your journey of technological mastery. How sacred Viking rituals can reprogram your mind for the AI era. I'm going to tell you something that completely changed my perspective on technological learning. Vikings had specific rituals for acquiring supernatural knowledge. And when you understand the science behind these rituals, you realize they created a mental reprogramming system that's more advanced than any mindset course you've ever seen. The most powerful ritual was Íþrótt, literally, sitting outside. Vikings spent entire nights in sacred places, in deep meditative states, seeking divine insights and knowledge. They knew that the mind, when properly prepared, can access levels of understanding that pure logic cannot reach. Modern neuroscience confirms this. Meditative states increase neuroplasticity, improve pattern recognition abilities, and accelerate learning of complex systems. Vikings discovered this intuitively and created protocols to access these states consciously. Odin, the central figure in Norse mythology, spent 9 nights hanging from the world tree to obtain knowledge of the runes. This isn't just a story, it's a manual on how extreme dedication and controlled discomfort can generate cognitive breakthroughs. Steve Jobs did something similar when he isolated himself to think through solutions, just like Elon Musk with his intensive problem-solving sessions. The concept of Galder, repetitive vocal incantations, was used to program the subconscious mind. Vikings repeated specific verbal codes until they became part of their automatic mental programming. Today, we know this is exactly how neurolinguistic programming and habit formation work. Here's the revolutionary insight. Vikings treated learning new skills as a sacred ritual, not as a boring task. They created an elevated emotional state before exposing themselves to new knowledge. This activated the brain's reward system and made retention exponentially more efficient. The practice of seer involved altered states of consciousness to see solutions that weren't obvious in the normal state. Mark Zuckerberg does something similar when he codes for hours in deep flow. Jeff Bezos uses contemplative walks. They unconsciously apply Viking protocols for accessing knowledge. Most fascinating is the concept of hammer, the ability to shapeshift mentally to adapt to different situations. Vikings knew that to master something new, you need to temporarily become another version of yourself. When you learn programming, you're not just acquiring technique, you're transforming into someone who thinks computationally. The ritual preparation aspect is crucial. Vikings never approached learning casually. They prepared their minds, set intentions, and created sacred space for knowledge acquisition. This priming effect is what separates those who struggle with technology from those who absorb it naturally. Understanding these ancient protocols gives you an unfair advantage in the age of artificial intelligence, because while everyone else is trying to compete with machines, you're developing enhanced human capabilities that complement AI. Comment, Íþrótt, if you're ready to apply sacred Viking rituals to your journey of mastering artificial intelligence and digital transformation. What if true Viking strength was exactly what you need to not be replaced by AI? There's an archaeological secret that could save your career in the age of artificial intelligence, and it's hidden in the oldest Viking sagas. While everyone worries about competing with machines, Vikings teach us something much more powerful: how to become irreplaceable through what they called Mannvit, human wisdom that transcends technical knowledge. Vikings weren't just brutal warriors, they were masters of something AI will never replicate: the ability to make complex decisions in extreme uncertainty using intuition, emotional experience, and human connection. Leif Erikson didn't discover America following an algorithm. He followed his intuition, took calculated risks, and adapted strategies based on subtle signals no machine could interpret. The concept of huger, meaning mind, heart, and spirit integrated, is key to understanding why some people will prosper while others get replaced. Vikings knew that true strength doesn't come just from technique, but from the ability to integrate logic, emotion, and purpose into decisions that transform realities. Harald Hardrada didn't become the last great Viking king because he had the best military technology. He excelled because he could read people, anticipate behaviors, and create strategies that considered not just data, but the unpredictable human element. This is exactly the skill that will separate those who master AI from those mastered by it. The Viking practice of thing assemblies, where complex decisions were made through debate, negotiation, and consensus, teaches us that the future belongs to those who can navigate human complexity. AI can process data, but can't understand conversation, subtext, can't read between lines, or build genuine trust. Most impressive is how Vikings developed what we now call emotional and social intelligence through the concept of vinskaper, the art of building lasting alliances. They knew sustainable success doesn't come from mastering technology, but from mastering relationships and influence. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit: AI will automate tasks, but will create exponential demand for authentically human skills. Vikings show us these skills aren't soft skills, they're the hard skills of the future. Contextual creativity, adaptive leadership, complex problem solving involving emotional and social variables. The Viking philosophy of VTI Vega, knowing the path through wisdom, is about developing a form of intelligence that complements AI instead of competing with it. It's about becoming the kind of person AI needs to function in the real world, where human context determines value. The archaeological evidence is clear. Vikings who survived and thrived weren't necessarily the strongest or most technically skilled, they were the most adaptable and emotionally intelligent. They understood that lasting success comes from developing capabilities that enhance rather than compete with available tools. Comment Mannvit and share this video if you're ready to develop Viking wisdom that will make you irreplaceable in the age of artificial intelligence.